Bro,
Yo,
Iran.
I ran so far away.
No.
You ran? Where'd you run?
The country Iran.
Iran.
That's my bad. They sent a bunch of missiles over to Israel.
Bunch of angry fuckers over there
Yeah.
who want to annihilate Israel
Yeah.
off the face of the earth. Seem pretty determined.
It's pretty crazy.
Be scary living there.
In Israel?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. They're constantly surrounded by enemies that want to kill them.
I mean,
And it's a small landmass over there, too. It's actually not that big.
no. Well, it's 9 million people, I think. I looked it up. 9
that-
million people.
9 million.
I think it's like bigger than Rhode Island, but not much bigger than Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Surrounded by people that are not happy with them.
Yeah, their military has got to be on like full alert all the time. You know,
Everybody would be on full alert. I wouldn't be able to relax there. It would be a different vibe there.
I just saw a short and they were showing Jerusalem and like its everyday kind of look. And there's like street performers and there's like Jewish rabbis. And then there was this girl who was just dressed normally walking down the street with her friend who had an AR on her shoulder.
I mean, I'm assuming there's like the alarms go off and people run. There's bunkers everywhere, maybe.
Maybe. You would hope so, I guess. I think they rely on their Iron Dome a lot, which is pretty good, but sometimes missiles or rockets make it through.
And on the outskirts or along the borders, I'm sure they have a lot of like military patrols.
They do have Mossad. Do you know what Mossad is?
They're the most badass intelligence agency on the planet. That's who the Mossad is.
Well, they're certainly the very tested. That's for sure.
The reason I like them more than the CIA is because they take civilian casualties into account. They want to be very strategic. Less collateral damage they can do. They actually quantify that before they do an operation.
And that's great. But I feel like they're like the CIA's younger brother or something. Because the CIA actually like topples over countries and installs leaders, and I feel like they're the real puppet master on the earth.
The CIA is more powerful.
They killed Kennedy.
Yeah, I think they did kill. They were part of killing JFK, certainly.
It seems like something's going on there.
Why they won't release it, I don't know. Maybe they're worried about the CIA being dismantled if that comes out to be actual truth. But most of the folks that have done the research, they all do agree that it's a combination of the CIA, even using part mafia, because JFK pissed two people off really bad, the CIA and the mafia.
JFK?
Yeah.
He also, I don't know why, but I thought he was going to go after the Federal Reserve or something.
I think that's more, not directly the CIA, but the CIA is the operative arm of, you go after the feds, we'll sick the CIA after you.
And that's probably the last thing you want. But getting back to Mossad, you've ever heard of their earlier missions?
Not a lot of them. I know a couple, though.
They've had some pretty crazy ones.
Lay it on me.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. So back in 1972, something happened called the Munich Massacre. And what this was I believe it was a terrorist group called Black September in coordination with PLO, which is another terrorist group, went in and took hostage 11 Israeli athletes. So these guys actually dressed up like athletes, climbed over the fence with duffel bags, had guns in their duffel bags, went into like the hall of the Olympics where all the athletes are staying, captured 11 Israeli athletes. One of them fought back, the wrestler. Fought back, but they offed him.
Damn it.
Yeah, they killed him. So this is all taking place in Germany, okay? And the Israelis were notified, like the Israeli government, But the Israeli government doesn't negotiate with terrorists at all,
No, that's true.
right? Because they're so small, they're dealing with terrorism all the time.
I think that's the only way to go, honestly.
Yeah, because if you start negotiating, then you're giving them power.
Yep.
There's a flip side to that, though. Anyways, so this is all basically in the hands of the German police at the time. So they're trying to handle it. The terrorists requested helicopters to get out of there with the hostages. Well, the police gave them the helicopters, but they flew them to an airfield where the police had an ambush set up. Okay, so there's 2 helicopters coming in. The police had 5 snipers stationed around. The helicopters land, and a gunfight breaks out. Well, during the gunfight, one of the terrorists has a grenade, pulls the pin, lobs it into the helicopter with the hostages.
Yeah.
All of the rest of the hostages, they die from that.
Yeah, that didn't go well.
No. And at that point, they clean up the rest of the terrorists and then take captive the ones who lived. They captured them. Well, Israel doesn't negotiate with terrorists, right? But one thing they do is vow to kill everybody that was involved in the organization of that plot. And that's Operation Wrath of God.
Okay, I mean, I saw the story of the Olympics. There was a movie or something a while ago.
Yeah.
You telling me that reminded me of the movie, which was, I can't remember, but so yes, I want to hear this.
Yeah, dude. So Mossad, which is Israel's CIA, organizes attacks against the Black September group and the PLO group. Okay, so what they do is they put together teams consisting of intelligence officers, assassins, and commandos. And they go into Beirut by boat, which is deep inside enemy territory. And Beirut is known to be like a similar city to like Paris. Like it has nightlife, people are out enjoying themselves, getting drinks, going to clubs, going to dinner.
Gotcha.
So what they did was they dressed half of their assault team as women.
Oh,
Yeah, so they're going in there looking like they're just a couple of couples out on the street, out on the town for the night.
with ugly girls.
Probably very ugly girls.
But still, they blended in better, I imagine.
I would imagine. I wonder if they put like some sort of like breast props.
I'm knowing the Mossad, they probably did the pretty damn good job.
And if I was going to be the man involved, I would want mine to have like some nice breast props.
Of course you would.
Yeah, just better for everybody. Anyways, so they go into the city, and what they're trying to do is attack a building where the PLO and the Black September groups, that's like their headquarters. As they're getting closer, they actually start a firefight. So they're in a firefight with this group now on the street. Okay, now Mossad is pretty badass. They mop these guys up relatively quickly, but a stray bullet went out, struck a car, and a car alarm went off. So in the middle of their operation, they got this car alarm going off, and the cops get called, the local Beirut cops, okay? So as they're conducting their operation, they're strapping explosives to this building, okay? And then on their way out, they get into a firefight with the cops. Now, because these are local cops against, fully trained commandos, the commandos don't get shot, and they don't have a problem with the cops. I'll just say that.
Because they're professionals.
They're professionals. They're professional killers. So they get past them. Everybody meets back at the boat that they came in on. They start the engines up, head out, detonate the bomb, kill 35 terrorists
Oh, that's badass.
from that explosion. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Doo-doo. I like it.
Yeah, dude.
That's a good story.
Yeah. It is straight up like spy stuff. And it also kind of sets a precedent. Like they're not going to negotiate with terrorists, but they will track down everybody involved and kill them.
Yep.
Which is probably more effective.
It's very effective.
Yeah.
Even if it takes a while. Wonder how long it was before they got the revenge there.
I don't know the exact year.
I think the Olympics.
But it came pretty soon after.
pretty soon.
Yeah, because I think the Olympics happened in 1972, and this was like, I think, don't quote me, like 74
Okay.
or something.
Not too long.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen recently how the Mossad somehow got these explosive chargers and all these pagers,
Yeah.
fingerprint scanners. Everybody's seen the video, right?
Yeah.
Crazy shit.
Yeah.
3,000 of them, something went off at the same time.
Yeah.
I found out that this isn't the first time the Mossad has done something like that.
Oh.
I think this was late 70s, I'm not sure, but early 80s. cell phones were first starting to come out. They were having a lot of cafe bombings, bus bombings, and hundreds of people were getting injured.
Israel. This was happening in Israel?
Happening in Israel. Were getting killed in these terrorist attacks within Israel. And so the Mossad had to kind of figure out what was going on there quickly. And they had a lot of surveillance going on to find this guy, who they had given a name, the engineer. I guess he was kind of an engineer. He was looking to get a master's degree in the West somewhere, but he decided to become a terrorist.
Oh, geez.
He was making these bombs that could be remotely detonated. Well, the surveillance that the Mossad was doing, what they had gathered was that, he didn't have a phone. He was very paranoid. Didn't have a lot of friends, but he did have one long childhood friend. He would use his childhood friend's phone occasionally. Well, their surveillance operation determined that he had an uncle that lived in the same residence with him. They snagged his uncle off the street, threw him in a van, and they convinced him by bribery basically they gave him a lot of money, and it was under the guise that they were just going to, track him or listen to his conversations. And the uncle agreed to get his hands on the phone and give it to them so they could put this tracker.
Okay.
Well, the real story is they weren't going to put in a tracker. They actually put an explosive charge in the phone, voice tracking software of some sort. So they monitored this calls on that phone, and the first chance they had when they could 100% voice verify that it was the engineer using that phone, they pressed a button and blew his head off.
Wow. So these are like tactics of theirs.
Yes, absolutely.
They can get into the person's inner circle and then straight booby trap like everyday use devices.
What a great imagination, sir.
Yeah.
To be able to think of a way to do this and take out the engineer with not a lot of collateral damage.
Yeah. They would just hit him.
Just hit him.
Interesting tactic. I almost wonder why they didn't just snipe him out or something, but
it is interesting.
Yeah.
Because if you're under surveillance, maybe he didn't show his head around very much or something. There must be some reason that they thought this was the way to do it.
Yeah, he might have stayed indoors all the time.
Yeah.
Or
yep.
He might have even moved around, but his old friend would always come meet up with him.
Yeah, for you to come up with that, there was a reason for it, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
He just was always in the basement making bombs.
Yeah.
And that was the only way to get him.
Right.
And they got him.
Yeah, they did. Dude, that reminds me of another clever thing that they've done in the past. This one, I actually don't know the operations name of it, but I like to call it Toothpaste Assassin.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was a terrorist member, I think his name was Wadid Haddad, I believe his name was. And he was an high-ranking member of a terrorist group. It was like the PLO or Black September. It wasn't Hamas. It was one of the earlier ones. And they wanted to get this guy. But this guy was almost untouchable, right? He was super hard to get to. He was very sophisticated in evading them and being careful with his surveillance, his counter-surveillance tactics. So what they did was they got somebody into his inner circle, right? So they got a spy that in one way or another worked himself into his trust. And then this guy or girl, they actually don't know who it was.
Or they won't say.
Well, yeah, they didn't say. Good point. They were keeping the person's identity secret. But this spy was able to get so into this guy's inner circle, and he was so trusted that he was able to get close enough where he swapped out his toothpaste tube with an identical tube, but this one was filled with slow-acting poison.
Ooh.
Yeah. So when they swapped it out over the next several months, up to a year, the guy started getting sicker and sicker because the poison was building up in his system.
Oh, shit.
So it started off, he was just losing weight at first. Then all of a sudden he was losing his hair. He was starting to get infections all the time. He was constantly nauseous and vomiting. The doctors had no idea what was going on. Ultimately, he died of organ failure. And the agent who did this has an alias and is only known as Agent Sadness.
Ooh. Yeah. See, that's just ingenious.
Yeah.
Trying to do the right thing, brushing his teeth every day. They had no idea he was offing himself.
And he was a high-ranking member, too, and the doctors were just trying to figure out what was going on. Little did he know, every day, exactly, he was slowly killing himself.
Wow, I'd never heard that before.
And to this day, nobody knows who Agent Sadness is.
That's a great story. I wonder if there's a lot like other stories that we don't even know about.
There's got to be.
They've done, you know.
Yeah,
they just for some reason, or maybe those are the best ones. I don't know.
There's for sure stories we don't know about. There's probably a lot of stories we don't know about.
I know one thing for sure. You do not want the Mossad after you.
No. That's what these guys do. They deal with these terrorist organizations every day.
But here we are, 40 years later or whatever. It's still terror every day almost.
Still using their old tactics of putting bombs into electronic devices and blowing up their enemies. You got to respect it in a way because Israel is so small and they're surrounded by enemies who use terroristic tactics. Like, this is what they have to deal with in there every single day.
It is kind of their only move.
Yeah. So they've got to get devious and they've got to plan things out. And
if we were in a similar situation in America, which thank God we're not, we would probably be resourceful and do the same type of stuff. Anybody would.
Yeah, I'm sure the CIA has done several things like that before.
And I would hope we would be as good at it as they are.
I don't know for sure, but they might even collaborate.
You know, there's another thing about Israel that makes them seem like a bunch of badasses.
What's that?
You've heard of the 6-Day War?
I have not.
Egypt, Syria, and Jordan were planning together to invade Israel, like an all-out invasion. And they were
Wait, so this was like, they were planning on
wiping
essentially conquering Israel.
Yeah, like tanks in,
Wow.
planes, bombs, you name it. Like, the Mossad had a individual under surveillance. His name was Eli Cohen. And he appeared to be an Egyptian business person, but he was traveling to Israel and back to Egypt and Israel to Egypt. But he had no security or anything. He traveled alone, so they watched this guy.
That's kind of crazy that they like catch on to stuff like that.
Well, I mean, they must have a lot of agents
Yeah.
and facilitators and whatever, but they're watching people closely,
Yeah.
which is understandable. So this guy too, they decide to pounce on him, and they get him in a room, and they're like, "We know you're a spy, and you got 3 options right now. You can take a bullet to the head, you can go to prison, or you can cooperate." And they must have been pretty convincing because apparently he decided to cooperate. So they got information from him about where these fortifications were, and little things like he told them that they had fortifications in the desert and they planted eucalyptus trees to create shade. So as a strategic point to, like, on an offensive maneuver, they could look for that in the deserts.
That's like a sign of where they're at.
Armaments and equipment and people or soldiers getting ready to do this war against Israel where they are going to annihilate them. So he cooperates. Not only does he cooperate, they make him a double agent. So he's going back, still doing his thing, and he's both ways. He's given the Mossad information about all this stuff as things start to escalate, and Egypt and Syria and Jordan are trying to get in position to do this. And that espionage was what led them to win the 6-Day War, which, by the way, the Jewish people in Israel call it 3 hours in June, because really, literally, the war was won in 3 hours.
Wow.
Because they were able to, I think it was about 1 day or 2 days before they were going to strike, they preempted and hit all those targets and literally took out all of their weaponry.
Wow.
In 3 hours.
Dude, that is awesome.
It was really over in 3 hours, but they called it the 6-Day War because, it kind of lingered a little bit and maybe threw in a couple extra punches,
Yeah.
They took the Golan Heights in northern Israel, which was like geopolitically and militarily just like a really great spot to be. And they still hold the Golan Heights to this day.
Dude, these days, I don't know how they did it in the 70s and 80s, like when cell phones were just coming out. But these days, the Israels have a spyware program called Pegasus.
Oh, I've heard Pegasus.
Yeah, and this spyware program, dude, they can implant it into anybody's phone that they want, and the user of the phone doesn't have to take any action.
Shit.
So it's called like a zero-click exploit, which is crazy, right? Because most spyware, you got to download something, you got to click a link, whatever, But this stuff they can inject right into your phone, and then once it's there, they have complete surveillance over your phone, meaning all the apps, the camera, the GPS location, and there's no sign of them in the phone at all, which is crazy. Which means, statistically speaking, when you're up late at night and you're a little frustrated and you're looking at your phone and you're tickling your pickle.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. You're not really alone.
That kind of turns me on a little bit that somebody's watching me tickle my pickle.
Whoa. Okay.
I'm lonely.
I mean, silver linings.
Hey, Mossad, I really like you guys, by the way. I'm a fan.
Yeah, right. Careful, dude. That thing could blow up.
That's just too easy to have that kind of stuff. When they made that and they got it working and shit, they must have just been high-fiving each other like, damn, we got all these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Right?
At that point, your intel gathering is just, it's like the push of a button.
Who knows how deep, I mean, if it's that easy to implement, they must have had all the powers on the planet almost like under surveillance. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? That's why I don't know if it's statistically true that it's on your phone, but like it very well could be. And we would never know. That's another Israeli tool.
I think, I also heard that they were selling that technology. They sold it to Saudi Arabia. Which that blows my mind too, that you have this incredible spyware and somehow you're just selling it to other countries.
Yeah.
Businesses, I think they sold it to private sector too.
Yeah, and if I was Israel and I was doing that, first off, I would think they would sell like a slightly scaled down version. Like maybe it doesn't have all the tools.
Right, true, yes. Good point.
And I would keep a back door in all of it.
I'm certain they did.
So that I could see everything that was happening.
They're the Mossad.
They are the Mossad.
They're always seem to be the step ahead and they're watching out for their own. So that's certainly at a back door.
The fact that somebody would buy that software, maybe they're just okay with it.
I wonder how much it was.
Weren't the Saudis giving advance warning to Israel during this whole thing? When missiles would fly over?
The Saudis do cooperate when they do these missile strikes that have been going on. These hypersonic, I think they're hypersonic, it's Mach speeds. They got to be super fast because what happens is they're launching missiles from Iran and it takes about 10 or 15 minutes to get to Israel. It's 2,300 miles. So look this up. It's 2,300 miles from Iran to Israel, which is about the same as Arizona to New York.
Oh, wow. So that's like 7,000 miles per hour.
So those missiles go over Saudi Arabia and Jordan, and they cooperate and say, for whatever reason, I'm not sure. And they don't even want to take responsibility of it, which is kind of weird.
This is, not to interrupt you, but this is my point. was like, if Israeli is selling them this software that gives them,
Oh, I got you.
yeah, maybe there's like a cooperation there.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Even though I think America, we have these satellites, we got all of our eyes on Iran right now. So if they start launching shit, I mean,
Yeah, true.
we get a hot phone. It's like, hey, watch out. But it's still interesting to me that Saudi Arabia and Jordan assist Israel in order to implement the Iron Dome defenses.
I feel like there's like an unknown partnership,
Yeah.
right? And we know of the, like you said, they sold Pegasus to Saudi Arabia. Who knows what else they've done for Saudi Arabia? And maybe Saudi Arabia is like, because that's valuable software, right? That's very valuable, especially if you're a government. So if you've got a partner that somebody else is trying to attack, but that software is very important for what you do, you need to keep them safe. You need to keep the partner safe.
Otherwise, we'll turn your software off. No more new license for you.
Right. And
Who knows what else, though?
not only who knows what else, but who knows what information that Israelis have on the
Blackmail-wise. Oh, my God. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the most powerful hacking tool, I believe, that probably was ever created,
Yeah, that is powerful stuff.
at least, that we're aware of. But I don't see how, everybody has phones on them. I don't see how you can get much more powerful as a hacking tool than Pegasus.
Isn't there some there's biblical prophecy involving Israel
Oh, yeah,
too?
definitely.
I know one of them was basically that Israel is going to be attacked from all sides. And I think it's from the north is the important one.
Multi-nation armies from the north.
And something's going to happen where God is actually going to supernaturally cut off their attackers' attack and help Israel. Whether it's an earthquake or a flood, because isn't there a sea?
Yeah.
Right north of Israel?
Yep. Well, they're God's people. In the Bible, they are God's people. So, I mean, he will not let them get fully destroyed. I believe that.
Yeah.
But there's also, I think in Revelations, there's a passage about something happens, and this is supposedly near or during the tribulation in the time of Revelations, where it takes Israel 6 months to bury all their dead. So that tells me there's something, one of these missiles is going to get through, or there's going to be something that...
Yeah, 6 months is a long time to be burying dead.
My common sense says one of these missiles gets through, or a nuke, or something.
Yeah.
When something like that happens and it takes 6 months to bury all their dead, that's a point where a lot of people say, well, no, we're in the tribulation of Revelations.
Scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Scary times. I mean, it is kind of crazy. I mean, we are truly on the brink of a potential world war over the Middle East. And I almost want to say again, but there really was no world war involving them, right? It was always kind of like Europe.
It was post-World War II, the Zionists set up the State of Israel.
I think that's biblical prophecy too.
That was,
Yeah.
Yeah. In 1948, that they established the Jewish state, was that the Jews would return to the homeland is biblical.
Yeah.
And it's getting hot over there right now.
Right.
I mean, there's something happen every few days. Just the other day, they did about 200 missiles. But for right now, the Iron Dome seems to be doing its job.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing too. I know at one point, United States, they offered like Iron Dome equipment and software, and the Israelis actually denied it. They didn't want it because they wanted to be in complete control of their own Iron Dome.
I could relate to that. You'd want to be, it's your life at stake. You'd want to be, your hands would want to be on everything.
Yes. You'd want to know that there wasn't any sort of back doors or potential issues or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty serious times we're in right now.
Scary.
It's somewhat sobering. We're so sheltered from it over here in the United States. We don't really see war firsthand.
Yeah.
So, but over there, it's relatively common.
You know, there's a lot of protesters here in the fluffy USA, but they really are just defending the fuck out of themselves.
Oh, Israel, you mean?
Yeah.
People protesting Israel.
Yeah.
But Israel's just, 100%.
They're not doing anything that we wouldn't do if we were in the same situation.
Or anybody else wouldn't do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The people protesting them would do the same thing. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but when we got attacked by terrorists, 9/11,
Yeah.
everybody was pretty uniformly like, okay, yeah, let's do something.
Yeah.
And I think most of the people protesting are like children. They're like college kids. You know what I mean?
They are younger. They don't
Yeah.
know the whole, because it's such a complex issue.
Right.
It's so complex, and it's just got a lot of history, and it doesn't seem solvable.
It's probably going to get bloodier before it's fixed.
It's almost like one's got to win or lose before it can get better, which is a scary thought.
Yeah, but I feel like Israel is now kind of taking that stance, especially their viciousness, you know, that they've had in the past with the stories we just told about Mossad.
I think they got them on their heels.
Right.
And all of a sudden, everybody's like, ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. To me, I feel like, let them finish it.
Yeah, you kind of got to let them finish their own fight.
It's like two guys rolling around on the ground. Let the guy put them in a chokehold and choke them out.
Yeah.
It's time.
Right.
Almost. I feel like that.
Yeah, because if they don't finish it now, they're going to finish it later.
It tastes bad when there's civilian casualties, you know, and they do try to limit it, but
yeah, war is hell.
if they want to play war or they want to play terrorism, let's play.
Right.
It's got to get worse before it can get better, and I think that unfortunately applies to this situation.
Yeah.
And especially because I've seen like videos of where there was this kid on TikTok or whatever, he was doing interviews on the street in Lebanon, and their media is much worse. We think our media is manipulated. Theirs is tremendously worse.
Right.
Like I saw this lady talking about how October 7th when they went and killed babies and raped, and it was on video. And this lady saying, no, they did not do that. They did not do that. They were fighting the Israeli military when they crossed the border.
Right.
No, they weren't.
Right.
So how do you get past that?
You can't. Government propaganda is one of the most powerful tools in the world. Government propaganda combined with media control is the most powerful thought-shaping tool that's ever been invented.
Until that changes, which it probably never will change, somebody's going to have to win.
I back Israel personally.
I do too. It's like definitely a ongoing decade after decade, eye for an eye scenario that's just really hard to watch. And they've been close to peace a few times, but it just doesn't last. And I think that's that proxy war scenario, just like Ukraine is, where it's just they turn into these forever wars. And it's almost by design, it feels like sometimes, but it's never going to end.
It kind of makes me hard. Sexually.
Awkward.
All right, let's go get some food.
Looks like you got food, Dick. Where's mine? Is that the sign that the podcast is ending because you got your little pasta salad out?
Yeah.
Rude.
We got to get some food, man. I'm hungry.
Very rude. You're all by yourself, Dave.
You can have some.
All right.